Salutations and proclamations. It is I, it is us, it is we. It's the De La Fit Podcast, bringing you the freshness in fitness. I am your host, Philly's #1 son, aka the Body Alchemist, and I welcome you to this podcast. Happy Friday, everyone. I hope everybody had a great week. A lot of things going on right now. Have some storms brewing in the wind, have some discontent in certain areas, but you know what? Hopefully that we can all gather ourselves and pull ourselves together and rally in the knowledge of we are all trying to better ourselves. For those that are trying to better ourselves, for those that aren't, we don't consider them because they're not a part of this family. What's going on, everybody? We have a great show this week for you. I've got some awesome guests, one of which is my brother from another mother, my friend David Bey, vegan chef du jour, is here to discuss why you should or should not be vegan. That's right, the first time you're hearing it here, a vegan telling you why you may not or may want to be vegan, giving you the choice, breaking down some information for you all. That's going to be a great interview coming up next. Also, I've got my homegirl, my friend, Brittany Noel, back from Hawaii. That's right, she's back from Hawaii, off of vacation. All those pictures on the gram, all those times making us feel bad that we weren't in a tropical place. Well, maybe just me. She's back and she's gonna be dropping the jewels. That's right, she's back with the dropping the jewels section. So I hope you all are ready for a great show. We've also got some other things coming up, but brace yourself. It's the De La Fit Podcast.
You're now tuned in to the De La Fit Podcast.
Check us out everywhere.
iTunes, Google Play Music, and much, much more. De La Fit Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the De La Fit Podcast. And I have with me not only, first of all, I have with me a good friend, all right, and a longtime friend, and better yet, he's more of my brother, all right? He's known me almost my entire life, and I've known him a good portion of his. So we're more like family than anything. And I wanted to bring him on the show to discuss this topic because I get a lot of individuals who always want to ask me questions about being vegan. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Chef du jour, David Bey. David, are you on the line?
I'm ready. I'm here and present. Thank you.
My pleasure. Islam to you, brother. How you doing?
I'm being well. Being in my highest vibration. That's the part that counts the most.
Most definitely.
So thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing the best I can and flowing, and I'm doing this podcast, which brings me joy and hopefully brings other people joy. So, getting out information to the public that hopefully they can use and take back and use in their lives and in their families' lives.
Wonderful. And thank you for having me on. Looking forward to this journey with you and sharing information as well and experiences, and as well sharing the joy. I know a lot of times people start thinking about certain topics about fitness and food, right, and it's not joyful. And like yourself, I'm out to eliminate that.
Exactly. Isn't it funny that the things that we do the most revolve around that, but then when it comes to talking about it, we don't like to talk about it. It's things we don't like to talk about. We don't like to talk about religion. Don't like to talk about sex. We don't like to talk about exercise and food. Those are all hush hush. No. Don't do those. No.
Taboo topics.
Exactly. I'm like, oh, my bad. In politics, that's the last one right there. But we're not going to get into those subjects right now. All right. So, David, first of all, introduce yourself to the public. Tell the people a little bit about yourself. All right, as far as how you began being vegan and your whole journey, even into becoming a chef.
All right. So, where do I begin? I like to think I began when I was born.
All right.
I was raised pescatarian,
right,
and then with my parents being sharing knowledge about food, we grew up on taking responsibility for the types of foods that we're eating. It was not a norm. We're talking about like over 40 years ago. It was just not a norm in society. So it was just like, people were just like, what are you eating? Or what's that? Or, and it's like,
you don't eat chicken?
That's a vegetable. Yeah.
Right.
So it just seemed for a lot of people just at that time very strange, although it's predominantly practiced in the world. Vegetarian is predominantly practiced in the world. Here in the United States, it was just a growth period where people just saw it as an anomaly, like, oh, you're strange, you're weird. Right. But I'm like, all right, it works for me. Somewhere around the age 16, I decided, one of my mentors asked me a question, because he'd been reviewing the topic of vegetarian and vegan before the word actually was formed. Okay. And he challenged me. He asked me a question. He said, so I understand that you eat fish. I said, yes. He said, so I want to ask you a question, and I want you to come back like a week later and provide me with an answer. He said, why just fish? And because you're not eating, pork and beef and chicken and any other types of things. So he said, so why fish and not those? So, but he said, don't answer now. I want you to come back and answer the question. So I came back about a week later. And during that period, I was contemplating and researching the question and then asking myself why. And then as I was reviewing, I said, oh, this is very interesting. Fish has eyes, they have nerves, they have blood, they have tissue, they have cells, right? Just like the other things. And then in that moment, I said, I think I'm going to stop. Right. And I did. And it was an upset for people.
When you said upset, how did it upset the apple cart? What took place?
What in the world are you doing? Well, the common question I think everyone asks. So now where are you going to get your protein?
The protein
the
question.
dreaded protein question, right? And so, being young as I was at that time, I'm a researcher. I like to research topics. I like to research things that I'm challenged by. So when I decided, I just stopped. It was more in my mind. I've already made the decision in my mind. I said at that moment, that was it. There was no, let me wait 2 years by and I'll try it out. I decided at that moment and I just stopped. Right. And there was, when I did that, I had the cravings also stopped as well. Right. And for a lot of people, fish is like, or seafood in general is kind of like a real challenge for sometimes. People are like, oh, seafood is good. And I'm not saying people should, do what I did, but just listen to what I'm saying is that I started in my mind. I made a choice there, and the cravings disappeared. Right. So from there, 16, and also during that time frame, I was really involved in food. Growing up as well, in our community, in our Moorish community, food is like a huge component of our upbringing. So, and I also had questions about health as well, because just being an athlete at that time, just starting my athletic pathway, I just knew that I can't eat like that all the time. It just doesn't work. Like macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes, potato salad, things like that. Like, triple starch meals, I call them. 3 starches and 1 vegetable. And then, that's like, all right, this is not going to work, as a well-balanced diet. So,
just really quickly, what sport did you play? What were you competing in?
I was in track and field, long jump and high jump. I was also in gymnastics, and I started my martial arts career all around the same time. All right. Wow. Just before that, I was also a cyclist. I've been cycling for just a little bit before that. So, but I would do long distance cycling, anywhere from 20 to 50 miles, things like that. So
a lot of endurance and
a lot of endurance. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Got you.
So, so there was, concern from different positions of people's point of view and thought pattern. It's like, where you going to get protein? You're not going to have any energy, Right. And I'm like, I'm not being the distinction. One, because I didn't grow up eating the heavy stuff. I call the heavy stuff the pork, the beef, and things like that. I didn't eat those things, so I didn't have the weight of that on my body, and our body wasn't craving for that. So I also have a love for food, like a strong love for food, or passion for eating good food. So I naturally, as an artist as well, I naturally went into culinary arts just to sustain my own diet. And I used to watch a lot of cooking shows, especially when I was younger. I remember the first time I was making cookies and muffins in elementary school, and I was fascinated by the chemical reaction to food. I was thinking, wow, this is amazing.
Wow.
I want to do more of that. And I would ask my mom, hey, can I cook on the weekends, like Saturday or Sunday? On Sunday, just make sure you clean up.
Right.
And she encouraged me. She kept on encouraging me. And it just started to blossom as I became an adult. It became something that I shared with others, and I saw the joy of doing that. And I said, wow, there's something to this experience. I want to create this more for other people. I remember one incident when I was in college. I was working late in the studio. I went to the art and design school, and I was working late in the studio on a project. And some of my friends who lived on the campus was like, "Hey, Bey, it's kind of late. Where are you going to crash at?" I'm like, "I'm going to go home." They're like, "There's nothing running."
Right.
So they're like, "You can crash at our place." And I was like, "You sure?" They're like, "Yeah, people do it all the time. You can sleep on the sofa."
That's
as
Philly college life. Just put it all out there on there. That's that Philly college life. You're in school, you working hard. Next thing you know, all right, there's nothing running. That was a long time ago. We've increased now, people.
Thank goodness. And so what I did was to show my thanks to my friends, I made them breakfast. First thing was brunch. And they was like, "We don't have anything." And I looked in the refrigerator and the cupboard and everything. I said, "No, you got stuff." And I made this spread of food. And there were about, they called a couple friends. There was 6 of us eating. And they were like, "Where'd you get all this food from?" I said, "It was in your refrigerator and your cupboard." And they were like, "This is amazing. You can stay here anytime."
What was it that you fixed? Do you remember what it was that you fixed?
Oh, man. I think I did I've made the grits, the Humney grits.
All right.
And then I made a gravy. I used mushrooms. I believe I used mushrooms at the time. I made this gravy. And then I made I don't remember all the details. I made a spread. I made a fruit salad. Oh gosh, I don't remember everything now. There was a lot of food.
That's all right.
And yeah, that was a long time ago.
That's all right. I just know people in the podcast just sitting there like, what did he make? I'm wondering now.
It was a full-on brunch,
right,
with no leftovers.
Nice.
And that kind of sparked me to really blossom on preparing foods, not just for myself, for others. And that became a thing in my journey for about 30 years, because I was in my 20s at the time. So about 30 years of just providing food for others as friends and just sharing. I believe that food in a sharing space really magnetizes people's experience. And that's been that evidence has shown up several many times. So, from there, that kind of sparked me serving food from my house. The family members, "Hey, come on over." And I called my father. I said, "What are you doing?" "I'm just doing such stuff." "Hey, if you got a moment, come on over. I just made dinner." Right. And then I would do that for friends, events or activities. And then during the journey, I've cooked or I catered workshops for 3 days. It was the position as the head chef. I created the menus, prepared the meal sets, had a small team. I did small venues. I was the person that people say, "Hey, Bey, are you cooking?" "Yeah, I'm going to be there." And then when I left Philadelphia and went to Atlanta, which is a much bigger foodie city than Philadelphia.
Very much.
Yes.
Very much Atlanta. We know how y'all like to get down, Atlanta. Our people out there in Atlanta, we know how y'all like to get down.
They don't play.
No, they don't.
sometimes I want to, shout out to Atlanta. It's really it was a blossoming moment for me to really get more involved in the culinary food space because of all the variety of foods were there from different nationalities. Got me a chance to explore without jumping on the plane. And anything from Korean to Chinese to Ethiopian to, your general American diet to just like Thai food. I mean, I had varieties at my fingertips from week to week, and that really got me into understanding like the different palates and we got four basic taste buds, sensories, but this exploratory of spices was fascinating to me. It was the same reaction I had when I first made cookies and muffins. I was like, this is chemistry, and I like this, and I like that it brings joy to people. So I really at home, I would just explore. I would go to restaurants to try to break down the ingredients. I would spend time asking questions, and I remember there's one point I asked this Indian man about this recipe, and it was a family recipe, and he's like, "I'm not telling you." And to me, those were like inspirational words.
Right.
I'm gonna find out.
So wait, David. I know you touched on a few topics. I want to get back to one. One,
yes,
you are Moorish, all right, and
yes,
we're both, I should say, Moorish. We're of the Moorish culture. So
yes,
let's talk about our love of food as a culture, because I know many individuals out there, like, they're like, yeah, I've heard of, Moorish people, and I know of, you all do this and this, but they don't know. I know of all the things they do know, they don't know that food is a central, it's a core element. Like, we don't just believe in just eating, we believe in feasting.
Yeah.
So
that's the difference. There's a distinction.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about that. All right. Also,
yes.
Also, you said something about your mom. All right. Let's also talk because I know your mom was from Jamaica, if I'm correct.
Yes.
All right. So now you have two different, and I'm gonna use the word spices in there. All right.
Yes.
Because you have the Caribbean flavor. The aki and the kalaloo and and then you have the Moorish, the masala, and the different spices that we use. I'm sorry, I'm salivating right now. Just for you all out there, you don't understand out there like that. So talk a little bit about that, and also because Moorish people love fish. I'm not gonna lie, we love fish. All right. So approach that if you can also from the perspective, like you said, you already touched on the fact of how people are like, oh man, I can't believe it. So now you've become vegan, you had more of experiences outside, you come back, right, you're cooking for your relatives. What took place?
So where's the fish? Brother, you're not eating fish anymore? No, sir. No, ma'am. But why?
Right.
And I go to share, and they said, well, I'm going to still eat fish. I'm like, that's fine. I'm not asking you to do anything. It's a choice. It's a choice I made. Just pass me the green.
Right.
So I want to answer your first question. So for those in the audience who, have done some research or heard in conversation about we as the Moors, so if they're Moorish Americans, you may have they're just as Moorish. They know how someone may express themselves. We're all talking about the same people. Our customs for as food has come over thousands of years of an expression that has influenced how we eat according to times and conditions as well. And I say that specifically because when you're in a nomadic state, right, because we had nomadic times, we had exploratory times where we were traveling to uncharted territories. We also have history as merchants, as seamen. We trade and done commerce with many nations, and in doing so, spices are part of the exchange outside of clothing, textiles, jewelry, metals, precious and semi-precious metals, and also stones and things like that. So when you're in commerce, there's a background of food in the exchange. So let's say if you're a merchant and you travel to, let's say, Malaysia, and you see there's an influence of certain like curries that are similar to your curries, but they have an extra spin on theirs, and you start to exchange in the conversation of, hey, so what spices are you having? Let's say from a merchant standpoint, well, I'm using turmeric and paprika. Oh, that's interesting. Instead of using paprika, we're using saffron.
Right.
You know, so listen, let's trade. I take some of your paprika, and here's saffron is expensive, so we're going to kind of weigh the difference here, exchange. But so when that conversation occurs, then recipes starts to emerge, right? And in doing so, you have an expression of food sharing that goes to the next level. Today we call it fusion, right?
Right.
But I wanted to give that historical background. Just give people a little snippet. I mean, it goes in depth. Obviously, we not take 3 hours to go into a historical journey. But why food? Like, it has a base of where the exchange comes from. And in our current timing, let's say in the early 1900s, we know that it's not a mystery for all. We experience in this hemisphere, slavery.
Right.
And the extraction of quality food was taken out of our experience.
Exactly.
And being innovators that we are, we found ways to deal with the remnants of what was given to us, and we expertly crafted that into foodstuffs. Now, I want to take a moment and for us to all think about this. During that time, we all can just imagine for a second if someone says, well, I'm giving you the worst of what I got, and you're doing the best with it. It's still not at its highest degree.
Exactly. Right.
Right. Right. It's still not at its highest degree. Now, that doesn't negate that the innovator or creator in you can take something from nothing and turn it into something. But it doesn't mean like that's the highest expression. So you may be operating at a 30% of your potential in your food eating based on that experience. Well, that experience, unfortunately, and I'm saying that specifically, unfortunately dictates how the generations therefore ate food, how they prepare food. It came from that pivotal moment. And we didn't raise past, let's say, I'm throwing in 30%. We didn't raise past the 30%. We just found ways to become more masterful with the 30%. And that's not to negate the creative expression. It's just like, it's not full potential.
Right.
So, during we here in the North America was blessed to be reunited to our history, our culture, our language, through the Moorish Science Temple of America. It gave us the opportunity to reconnect what was taken away. And in doing so, we were given an opportunity to reevaluate ourselves, our condition, and to really rise up what that 30%, especially around our diet, because these diets well, let's put it like this. I'm making a declaration. They aren't the highest expression.
Right.
And there's evidence today, and it has been for the past 4 or 5 generations, that it isn't the highest expression because the results of eating like that provides a particular condition. Right? And I'm not going to get into conditions right now because we're going to talk about that later, I'm sure. But they provide conditions. Input creates an output. Food is designed to give us the essentials so that we can sustain ourselves in our activities as human beings through our, whether we're working, running, swimming, walking, it's the essentials that gives us the ability to do these with the highest level of functionality.
True.
Right. So if we're not eating at our highest potential, then the output is going to be affected as well.
Now hold on, David. Now
yes.
You're touching on something now. Let's go back, because I know people are listening. It's just like, wait a minute, hold on, what you trying to say? All right. And here in the Day Left It podcast, We believe on 100%. We're going to give you the rest.
Yes.
So let's just put it out there. We're talking about what is called soul food. Am I correct?
Right. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So let's
yes.
put that out there. And also, I can hear you all out there. I'm like I said, I'm going to play the devil's advocate. I know y'all out there like, wait a minute, homie. I know plenty of good people. All right, plenty of athletes with mac and cheese. All right, eat all these other things. You know what I mean? You know, and they're amazing athletes. So
yes, they are.
So, what you trying to say? You trying to say something better than this? Or what? I got y'all. I know what y'all going. We're going to answer that, David.
Yes.
Respond to that.
Yes, that's an excellent point. So let's split the conversation into two parts: athletes and non-athletes.
All right.
Let's talk about it. I do that specifically because not everyone is performing at the level of athlete, right?
Okay. All right.
So I'm going to talk about non-athletes first. These are people who are probably working every day or 5 days a week. They clocking in, clocking out. They may be entrepreneurs. They're providing for themselves in some way. They have daily activities. They may have children. They may have relationships. But they never decided that I'm going to make a career of being an athlete. They may work out now and then once or twice a week, right? And they feel as though that, my diet's great. I'm good. I feel good, right? And I'm not bashing anyone, but this is for everyone listening, even for myself, it's a constant investigation. So I'm saying this for everyone to spend time investigating. Are you operating at your highest potential? Are you?
Okay. All right. Say that one more time.
Are you operating at your highest potential?
Okay.
Now that yes. So let's chew on that for a moment. So if we're waking up feeling sluggish, if we're going to bed feeling sluggish,
gotcha.
something's up. If we're not having constant, and I mean regulatory eliminations, then something's up. If we're finding that, let's say you got crust in your eyes, mucus in your eyes when you wake up in the morning, something's up. If your skin is ashy, something's up. These are all physical signs that the body is saying, hey, you need to pay attention. You're not. So I'm going to escalate the issue so that you can figure this out. If we're having gut problems, meaning digestive issues, then something's up. So the non-athlete is eating more foods than they would need to. They're eating like an athlete, and they're not moving, right? And so therefore the body is stuffed up.
Okay.
And it's poor regulation. Maybe what I mean by that, you're not eliminating every day and according to how many times you eat. So your body is being congested. And interesting enough, this morning as I was preparing, I said, sometimes I walk by people's homes and their trash is out, and I'm like, God, that smells really bad.
Right.
And that's their food.
Right.
And that's inside them. It just has to be sitting on the street, but that's actually something that someone ate. And that's a signal, right? Our body is designed to let us know something's up. You need to pay attention. If we don't, then that becomes a condition that we have to manage later.
Not to cut you off, David, that's some truly enlightening and interesting information that you're sharing with us, but I'd just like to take a brief moment to talk to our audience for a brief second. If you like the content that we're sharing here at the De La Fit Podcast, then let us know by liking, following, and sharing or subscribing to content. All of this lets us know that you like what we're doing and you want us to continue. Thank you.
And now back to our regular scheduled program, De La Fit Podcast.
So the non-athlete is eating more than what they need, and they're also eating combinations of food that doesn't sustain their vitality, their energy, their ability to feel energized or vital, right? So let's switch over to the athlete.
All right.
Yes, there's many athletes that eat what they call the omnivore diet, meaning they eat just about anything: raw eggs, raw beef. It's a wide range. There's different diet types, right? And so they have a slight advantage. And that's because they're moving. And they are in constant motion, moving things in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. They hopefully are drinking lots of fluids to push things through their system. But again, the same question is the same for both. Are they at their highest potential?
All right.
Right. You get what I'm saying?
I'm following you, and I think I'm gonna, for the people out there, I think we're following you, but it sounds almost like you're speaking like a car. In a sense, for some of our car people out there, because you said about motion. And it's interesting. Last week we had a guest on here, the trainer's trainer, Jeffrey Snyder. We were talking about men and aging. He was talking about some of the ailments that plague men. And we got into the fact of just movement. And you touched on that. And he was like, we are made to move. Yeah. And, you know, when you stop moving, you lose a lot. So, all right, you're touching on it right now. And what it seems like you're saying is that, you know, the movement helps, but if you're not putting in the best you can put in to the machine, it might not move as well. It's moving good to you because you're an athlete or what have you. You're really good, feeling good, but you could feel better. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Got you.
There's the conditions of eating animal products still remain the same for both. They lead to certain conditions. I'm going to pinpoint one condition that seems to be common, and it's cyclical, meaning it has a beginning, a cause, and it has an effect. And it's cyclical for many people. And it has to do with our kidney function. And if we just take a moment and we can everyone can Google up the functions of the kidneys, right? So our kidneys are regulators.
Right.
And they filter the blood. And they have very specific ways of monitoring, and they're designed a way to give us signals. Earlier, I was talking about having trouble, taking rest at night or waking up with low energy, dry skin, and things like that. Well, that's actually a function of something going on with your kidney, right? And like I said, these things could be actually researched. Just do a Google search on the National Kidney Foundation, and you can start to see some of the conditions that you may be moving towards some kidney situation. And then insert this. If you look around the spread of the United States, there's this experience that we see called dialysis centers. Right. I'm sure people seen them. They got nice looking fronts, and you might think it's looks like a clinic. And I don't know if anyone has firsthand personal experience with being in a dialysis with a family member or themselves. But it is not an encouraging situation, right? And if you don't know, you should probably volunteer if possible and spend some time there and get yourself informed and start asking questions. The one thing you will find that is common through all the conditions is diet. Right. So let me backtrack for a minute. So people who are eating lots of animal protein, let's start there. Consuming every day, multiple times a day, from morning to night, every day of the week, without, good elimination. They are building up protein molecules, proteins in their body to the point where the body is not able to pass it through. What the function of the kidney is to regulate that process and to allow us the ability to use the protein and have it distributed throughout our system. Now, the protein question is a very interesting one. There's protein in all matter. Right? There's protein.
Say that again, because for my non-vegan friends out there, because we've heard this before. Say that again, David, please. What is that?
There's protein in all matter.
I think you just broke the microphone.
I think I did.
I think people are dropping their iPhones and their things like that. What? Protein and everything? What?
It's protein. I'm just gonna. I hope I'm not jumping too far ahead, but this is a biology science part of this conversation. I believe everyone should just re-up on. So we all remember the cells. The cell structures, the atoms, neutrons, the positive, negative, they're encased in something to keep them stabilized. And that's protein. Protein is the coating that causes those things to be contained and the actual function in the balance. So protein is in a leaf. Protein is in molecules. It's in the blade of grass. It's in an orange. It's the degree in which the protein is present, but all cell structures have protein.
Hey everyone out there, we hope you're enjoying the interview with vegan chef David Bey thus far. For the preservers of time, we're going to continue this interview next week due to the fact we have so much information to share with you. Up next will be Brittany Noel and the Dropping the Jewels section. For our young mothers out there who have just given birth, you might want to stay tuned and listen in to the information that she has to share with you. It's all about you.
You're now tuned in to the De La Fit Podcast.
Ready for this?
De La Fit Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the De La Fit Podcast. It is I, Philly's #1 son, the Body Alchemist, and I have with me, that's right, she's back from Hawaii, Brittany Noel. That's right, everybody give it up for the wonderful Miss Brittany Noel.
Hey everyone. I wish I had like a really cool intro, but I just don't. I think my name is this cool, so.
I'm just saying, we're waiting for you to come up with an intro. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not doing it. Every time I do it, people are just like, no, my intro wasn't as hot as it should have been. And I'm like, you know what? Do it yourself. So.
All good. I'm enough. I'll be the Cali Queen, something like that. I'll work it out, you guys.
You do that. You work that out. So, Brittany, all right, we're in the Dropping the Jewels section, all right, and we have a couple things to cover, but I wanted to ask you, did you get a chance to check out Serena Williams in the U.S. Open?
I did.
What the hell is going on? What is going on with the judges? What is going on with tennis and Serena Williams? I don't understand. Why are they putting her through this nonsense? I mean, I feel like I do understand, but this is ridiculous. It's come on now. What's going on with this?
I really don't know why they're being so hard on her. Like, yesterday's game was outrageous. I would be super mad as an athlete. Like, first of all, to her point, like, why would she need to cheat? Like, why would she need coaching? Like, she should have just not even went there. And it's a championship match. Like, for him to be affecting her game in that way, it just sucks. And I actually feel bad for her and Osaka because Osaka was playing really well. Mm-hmm. But we all know Serena can play well too, so she could have came back on her. But now I feel like everyone's going to say, oh, Osaka only won because, Serena got penalized. So that sucks for her, and then it also sucks for Serena. Like, she just had a baby. She's out there trying to do her thing, win a couple of Grand Slams and retire, and then you just have some dude that just, like, decides to throw out penalties. Like, it was just unnecessary. Like, the whole thing was just unnecessary. Like, let him play.
Exactly. I'm starting to, I've been watching this ever since she came back. And I'm noticing, all right, the first thing is I think she was making a tweet about how they were testing her. And they've always been very hard on her. And to be fair, I guess we'll say they're hard on any athlete when it comes to performance-enhancing drugs. All right? But I know she was saying that, again, she's a new mother and how they'll schedule a time to test her. And they'll come 2 hours early, 3 hours later, 4 hours. And I understand that, this is the big leagues. You're trying to make sure nobody's doping or has time to use any masking agents. But come on now. Some of this just seems like it's really ridiculous. I mean, we know that Serena is the Michael Jordan of tennis. All right. If I can, to use that word, that's the only person I can really think of.
You know,
Yeah.
she is the queen. Like, she will go down in history as one of, if not the greatest tennis player in all of history. I mean, and that's truly my belief. So, you know, I'm been watching this, and I think it's really ridiculous as to how they scrutinized her. You know, I mean, 1 minute is her outfits, the next minute is the dance, this a celebratory dance she's doing. Next is the testing. Then it's accusing her of cheating. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous. It's absolutely just ridiculous.
I mean, it's pretty hard for to be just a dominant female player to begin with. Like, I feel like a lot of female athletes don't necessarily get the credibility that a lot of male athletes do. So I think she has that with her. She's a black woman, so that's even more like, okay, she's been on top for so long. Like, I feel like they are upset about that. She does have a unique build, but so much that she has an amazing physique that she works really hard on.
Exactly.
And I think that also is something that people are like, well, I don't understand. Like, how is she so much more, like, bigger and powerful than these other women? So that's why they always want to be, like, testing her and stuff. But it is not fair. It is, you know, hard. And I'm not a mother, but I train a lot of women. I have a lot of friends that are true mothers. Mm-hmm. And I understand that, like, your schedule is so important when you're a mom. And literally, like, 10 minutes is a lot. So let alone 2 hours, 3 hours, like, that is so much when you're dealing with a newborn or just with, like, a small baby. Because they could be eating, they could be sleeping, they could be napping. Exactly. So it's really inconsiderate to do that. And if you take it a step further, like, obviously she's pregnant for 9 months. So she's not going to be using any performance-enhancing drugs or anything while she has, like, a human in her.
Right.
So the odds for giving birth and then getting back on drugs to enhance her performance in this short amount of time, it's kind of ridiculous to think that way, because it's like, obviously she's not going to put her baby's life in jeopardy to
right.
be doping, or, you know? So it's kind of, I can see where she's coming from in the frustration, especially now because her time is so precious, you know? Like, she is missing time with her daughter to go to practices and to try to grade. And so when you get in this position where you have the opportunity to, you know, win a Grand Slam, if someone takes that away from you, I can understand why you'd be double mad. Like, you're mad from an athlete perspective and from a mother's perspective of, like, now you're affecting, you know, my livelihood of my child. Like, I gave up more so this time than before because I gave up time with my child to prepare for this. For you to just set that up with silly penalties, like, it was not necessary. And I don't think it would have been as harsh on someone else, but it's the fact that, you know, she has been so dominant, she was winning. I don't think that they would have done the same thing to, you know, like Sharapova or someone.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was listening to, or rather I should say, I read the tweet that Billie Jean King said about what Serena said to the judge. And I totally agree. And basically, to summarize, Billie Jean King was like, you know what? This has been going on for a long time. Women are not looked at as equal when it comes to the sports. If a man in tennis did the same thing, he's or has said far worse, which they have, to the judges or individuals.
Even Federer said something the day before. Like, Federer said something during the U.S. Open, and he didn't get a penalty, I don't believe.
No, he didn't. And that's the thing.
Good.
You know, it really is. It's really coming to light the bias that they have for her. And again, and you said it before, because of how dominant she is, you know. And this is the thing that I look at. And first of all, I don't have any children, but I have sisters that have children. I have nieces and nephews out the wing wang. Okay. So to agree with you, like you were saying, a mother's time, a parent's time is precious. All right. And the things that they're doing, it's just downright, to me, it's disgraceful. It's disgraceful to the sport of tennis. It's disgraceful to, I can't say they can disgrace her because she is who she is. I mean, she's eloquent.
She's so well, and I don't even like to say well-spoken, but she is. She's incredibly well-spoken, incredibly intelligent.
She had so much poise at the end of it yesterday. Like, she stood up for Osaka. She was like, I don't want to answer your question right now out of respect. So, like, she even handled that situation in a way that was, like, I would still be fuming. And there was a moment after that, but she was able to just rally and be real calm during the announcement, during the award ceremony. She tried to keep the spotlight on Osaka. She could have been, like, a bad sport about it. She could have still been upset, but she was very, like, you know what, let me take my problems off the court and not distract from her right now.
She's a champion. She's a flat-out champion. No matter what, no matter if she's actually winning or losing, she's a champion. And I think you and I both agree, this is what they don't like. She truly is.
They want to make her go off. They want to make her look bad.
Exactly.
And every time she does it, they're like, shoot, like this should have been like our moment to just have her all over the newspapers as just acting a fool.
And it doesn't happen.
But because there's enough evidence to know that that's what they want, to be like, okay, let me just take it all the way back because I see that they're gunning for me. So let me just be as voiced as possible, rise above the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But it's unfortunate and it sucks. I mean, as an athlete, it's so hard. Like there's already so many factors that deal with you trying to win a championship, and to have like other things on top of that is just super frustrating.
Truly, it truly is. I mean, I hope and I would like to think that it's going to get better, but I honestly, from just the climate of how things can be, I generally am concerned for her because I feel like they're going to increase the witch hunt. So, I just hope she's prepared. I feel she is. But I really, really hope that she has.
I think they want to retire early. Like, I think they're just trying to force her out so they can be like, we want the spotlight to be on something else. Like, it's been on you for too long.
I think they want to disgrace her. I really think they want to do a Marion Jones on her. I think they want to disgrace her totally from the sport and to just destroy her name. Because let's take it back. Like you said, I think her name is Osaka or Osaka? Osaka, okay, all right.
Naomi Osaka.
So, Osaka, all right, let's take her, let's take the other young women, the young woman who just won, I think it was the last year. She won. Yes, all right. Excuse me, I'm horrible with names when it comes to certain sports.
I don't like Sloan because people say I look like her twin. Like, people stop me all the time and be like, oh my gosh, you look like Sloan. And I didn't see it at first. I just take it as a compliment.
Really? You didn't take it as a compliment?
I didn't know she was at first. My aunt used to always be like, oh, your twin is playing. I'm like, who's my twin? And then Sloan. And then when I'm in the gym, a lot of times men will stop me and be like, oh my gosh, you look like Sloan.
I don't see it myself. And honestly, as of last year, I didn't even know her. Nothing against her, but let's just say I feel like all of the young women that are coming up of indigenous and ethnic backgrounds, are the children of Serena, or they're her daughters, and I feel this is what they want to quash. They want to squash that because they see that it's going to become like basketball, like track and field, like a lot of sports that, we tend to become dominant in. And I know that individuals listening in, this is not, I don't want people to get the wrong interpretation. All right. But what I'm saying is the fact of, I think everybody sees what's going on when it comes to what's taking place with her, and if you're good, you're good. I don't care who or what your background is. I don't care what it is you're into, anything like that. If you're good at it, if you're good at a specific sport or whatever, I support you. But, I just naturally see also the birth of change that she is creating in tennis. And I think it scares the hell out of the status quo.
Yeah, because actually this year for the finals, she almost had 4 African American women in the semifinals.
Yeah.
Because the quarters, there was Madison Keys. She's half black. The Dodgers half black, Japanese, Serena, and then Flo. And if Flo hadn't have lost before the semifinals, it would have just been for either full black or half black women making it to the US Open finals.
Which is changing, again, the status quo. First of all, I just like the fact that, shout out to all the sisters out there. Shout out to all the women, period. All the women out there. Because I'm going to tell you, I grew up watching sports. I don't care, again, I don't care who it is. All right? I was a big fan of Mary Lou Retton. All right? I don't care who you are. If you do something awesome, I'm a fan of yours. Unless your sport is boring. And I'm just going to say, if your sport's boring, I probably don't watch it. Like baseball. Sorry, baseball is boring to me. Don't really care, okay? When it comes to golf, only thing I know about golf is Tiger Woods. Never really watched it. I'm just saying. I mean, hey, Tiger Woods, yay! Not gonna watch you. Your sport's boring. But hey, whatever. You know what I mean? But 100%. If you're good, I respect you. All right. And if it's something I'm interested in, I'm gonna watch. For example, women's football. I love women's football. I think women's football should be just as popular as the NFL. All right, and I wish it was more popular because I'm gonna tell you something. I've seen women hit harder than men. I think we've had this conversation before, Brittany. I've seen women do some smash mouth football. I'm an old school. I'm an old school smash mouth football type of guy. When you hit and the helmet flies off the head, that's what I miss. All right, and I watched a couple of the I think it was some amateur events that they were online, all right? Saw good quality, 100% smash mouth physical football from some very athletic women. I applaud it. I like seeing it. I love it. So anytime I see something like this taking place, this change, all right, in the status quo, I'm in support of it because to me, we're all athletes. If you're athletic, doesn't matter who you are, you should be out there doing your thing, and it should be equal. So that's just my opinion on that. Can't say nothing. So now let's switch gears a little bit. Brittany, have some questions for you.
It's time for Dropping the Jewels with Brittany Noel on the De La Fit podcast.
All right, recently had a friend of mine, all right, ask some questions, all right, about how long should they wait, all right, after having a child to get back into the gym, all right. So for everybody out there, I'm going to slip back. I'm just going to listen while Brittany breaks down and drops the jewels. So Brittany, go for it.
So everybody's pregnancy is going to be different, woman to woman. The most important factor is going to be how active you were before you got pregnant. So, for instance, if you were a woman that was hitting the gym, 4 or 5 times a week doing weightlifting, and then you got pregnant, then the doctors will agree that you can keep doing the same thing that you were before. So you can still weightlift, you can still work out 4 to 5 times a week. You might have to regress certain exercises or not do certain ones. But for the most part, if you were doing it before you got pregnant, then you can do it while you're pregnant, you can do it after. So, let's say that you had your baby and it's been a couple of weeks, then you'd be able to ease back into exercise. But definitely you just want to talk to your doctor. For most doctors, if you had a natural pregnancy, they'll probably let you get back into working out after about 3 to 4 weeks. If you had a C-section or a more complicated pregnancy, then you might need to wait a little bit longer. So the first step is just to ask your doctor, hey, when am I cleared to exercise? They will give you a time frame. Once you have that clearance from the doctor, then I would say you would go back to exercising at whatever level you were before you got pregnant. So if you have no experience with weightlifting or anything, and you had your baby and now you want to start to get back into it, you can definitely do that as well. But I would just say start slow, as if you would have before, so you can do cardio. The number one thing to keep in mind is you want to know something called diastasis. What that means is that your ab wall splits. So this happens to a lot of women who are pregnant. Throughout their pregnancy, their ab wall separates, and it basically exposes your organs in a sound graphic, but that's what happens. It doesn't hurt when it's going on. But basically, once you have your baby, you want to make sure that your ab wall gets the opportunity to heal. So you don't want to do any sort of ab exercises that are going to affect that healing process. So you don't want to do things like crunches or anything where you're lifting and you notice kind of a bulge happening in your stomach. That's a bad sign. So you want to do more exercises that are, lying down flat on your back, really retraining your abs to come back together. So that's kind of the number one concern getting back in exercise, is making sure that you don't have that rectus diastasis, and if you do have that, doing things that are going to help it heal as opposed to making it worse. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense, and I'm learning. I'm taking notes as you're talking. So if I'm quiet, it's because I'm sitting here like, that's good. Okay. I can use that for a client.
And there are a lot of trainers who are pre- and postnatal certified, like myself. So it is good to work with one of those trainers just so that, if you are just straight up new to exercise, they can help guide you in terms of which exercises to start off with. Another thing you have to just keep in the back of your mind is when you're pregnant, you get a hormone called elastin, and it makes you very stretchy, very flexible. So that hormone can stay in your body for up to a year. So that just means that you have to be very careful about your range of motion. So when you're doing things like squats and lunges or stretching, you're going to have more range of motion than you would normally. So you just have to be cognizant of not pushing yourself past the normal range of motion just because you're extra stretchy. You want to protect, your ligaments and tendons by just keeping everything in a normal range of motion. That would be the other thing, along with that diastasis stretching, that you want to just be cognizant of when training someone or when working out yourself.
Wow. Did you say extra stretchy? I just want to make sure I heard that part while I was
you're extra stretchy. That's the best way I can explain it. You're extra stretchy, you're very flexible, and that's because your body got that hormone to accommodate being able to be versatile. So it made it so that everything is just a little more pliable, and that makes your butt for up to you. So you want to be aware of that when you're doing activities, all sorts of activities. You're more flexible than usual.
Brittany Noel dropping the jewels once again. Everybody give Brittany a hand. Brittany, please, again, your Instagram, of course, always, and your email, because we always want to give people access to the trainers that know what they're talking about. And Brittany definitely knows what they're talking about. And I'm learning too. So for anybody else out there, you're helping train other trainers, you're helping your co-hosts, everybody, please drop the information on where they can also reach you, please.
You can find me on Instagram at _Noel Fitness, and you can email me at BrittanyNoelFitness@gmail.com.
And you can also find her here at the De La Fit podcast, dropping the jewels.
That too.
I just had to put that in there. Put that in there. Brittany, always a pleasure. Thank you so much, and we hope to talk with you again soon.
I hope to be back soon. Thanks, guys.
You're now tuned in to the De La Fit podcast.
Want to give a shout out to all of our listeners for tuning in today with us, for taking the time out of your day to spend some time with us. We greatly appreciate you, whether you're a new listener or an old listener. We thank you so much, and we want to thank all of our guests for stopping in and sharing their wealth of information with everyone. I want to send a shout out to vegan chef David Bey. Thank him for taking the time out. He will be back next week. We will continue the interview with him, and he will continue talking about the pros of being vegan. Also, the cons, whether it's for you or not for you at this time. Want to send a shout out to Brittany Noel for always giving the best information and sharing the wealth of her experience as being a trainer. I know I grow as a trainer as well. And this is one part of the reason I like doing this podcast, because not only am I trying to help others, it helps me to grow as well. So definitely a big shout out to her. We have some great guests coming next week. Stay tuned. Pay attention to the De La Fit Instagram page. We always post information there, which is DE_LA_fit podcast. And also, if you have any ideas or comments for shows, or you want to ask us questions, you can contact us at dela13@gmail.com. That's DELA13@gmail.com. We check that multiple times a day. I'd like to thank, of course, all of you out there. I'm sending also prayers and positive energy to the individuals in the South, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. We are pulling for you up north. We hope that everything continues to go well for you. We hope that many people are safe and out of harm's way of the hurricane. And we continue to always encourage being positive. With that being said, going to end the podcast today with one final message, which is do the best you can, be the best you can. And remember, perfection is not being without error. It's recognizing that perfection is understanding that you grow because we make errors. The more errors we make and the more earnest we are in trying to learn from our mistakes, the more we grow. And that is what makes us perfect, because it's not about not making the mistakes as we are taught. It's about making the decision to grow from those mistakes. As always, be fit, be fine, be healthy.
You're now tuned in to the De La Fit podcast.